It looked just like a gorilla that you would see in the zoo. And it scared the shit out of me. So, let me tell you the story. I lived in upstate New York. I was a young bucking bronco, a kid. And I used to ride my four-wheeler around in the woods. And I had this crappy Honda that would always stall on me. Regardless, I decided to take this bad boy 6 miles into the woods. And of course, it stalled on me. And it stalled on me going across the river to make matters even worse. I was knee deep in water, freezing cold. It was October. If you come from New York, you know how cold it gets in October. I had to drag my four-wheeler out of the river and figure out how to get this bad boy started. I was messing around with the four-wheeler for 30 minutes. I was starting to get concerned because I was 6 miles from home, probably even further. And it was getting dark. So I started to panic. And I heard a weird noise in the woods. And I immediately did one of those double takes as I was growing increasingly concerned by the four-wheeler not starting. Now I started hearing weird noises in the woods, so my anxiety was skyrocketing. I was getting scared to death. I heard that noise again while I was fiddling with the four-wheeler, so I looked again. And I didn't see anything. And it almost sounded like as if someone was stepping on twigs, but really thick twigs, not small twigs that would crack, but we're talking like branches that were cracking under someone's feet. It didn't sound like it was high, it sounded like it was on the ground, as if someone was walking around on thick branches that were actually cracking. So I started to panic. I was doing everything I possibly could to get my four-wheeler started, and I just couldn't get it started. So now I was making peace with the fact that I would have to walk back. But I would have to walk in the direction that I was hearing those noises. And I just assumed, you know what, it's October. The deer are typically pretty frantic in New York as they're trying to find as much food as they possibly can before the winter, so I assumed it was a deer. I started packing my bag, taking all the things out of the back compartment of the four-wheeler, and as I turned to go in that direction home, I shit you not, it was the weirdest thing I have ever seen in my life, and I'll never forget how I felt, because I did one of those things where you swallow, you're like, you know, you're like so scared that you do this weird swallow, and my heart started racing, an enhanced fight or flight, boom, 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 boom. I almost felt like my heart was gonna pound out of my chest. Scared the shit out of me. I'm going to attempt to explain what I saw. And I really wish I had some kind of a camera. The crazy thing is, this was back when I was 14, 15 years old, so the cell phones we had weren't even flip yet. They were those phones that had the buttons on the front and a small little screen, and the camera was so bad that it would take like distorted, pixelated images that looked more like a painting, a really crappy painting. Now, if I had an iPhone, I would have gotten a perfect picture because it wasn't far away. Bear with me, I'm playing fetch with my dog while I'm shooting this video. So, I'm going to do my best to explain what I saw, but I want you to keep in mind that this was when I was 15 years old, and it was right around 6 or 7 o'clock, so it started to get dark out. So it was really hard to make out what I saw. With that being said, I did have some daylight, and I was able to see a figure. I was even able to see the color of the fur. I was visually able to see shape for about 10 seconds. And trust me, 10 seconds feels like an eternity when something like that's happening. So the one thing I must say that I truly didn't understand was how this creature that looked like a gorilla had a tail. And the tail was long. It was, I would say, maybe 2 feet long. I am not exaggerating. It had a tail. And I noticed the tail specifically because as it went behind the tree, the tail was still sticking out. And this wasn't a dog because it was on 2 legs. I want you to remember that the whole time it was on 2 legs. It almost looked like a kangaroo with a really long tail. Some of the craziest shit I've ever seen. I'll never forget how scared I was, how perplexed I was, how confused and puzzled I was. I had no idea what I was seeing. Honestly. Now, another thing that I noticed, it was primarily brown, like a dark brown, but it kind of had like a faded, lighter brown on its mid-back. It was primarily dark brown, and then it had a bit of light brown on its mid-back. And it kind of did one of these motions when I went behind the tree. It wasn't even looking at me. It didn't even pay attention. It didn't even seem to look in my direction. It was just like this. Like it was casually going. It stopped. And then it just went. It was gone. And to this day, I have no idea what I seen. A buddy of mine told me it was the Jersey Devil. I don't know what that is. I've never really did any research, but apparently that's a thing in New Jersey. I figured, hey, I'm 1 state away. Maybe the Jersey Devil made a trip to New York. This definitely wasn't Bigfoot because it wasn't tall enough to be a Bigfoot. It didn't look like a Sasquatch, and I would be completely honest and tell you if what I seen looked anything like Sasquatch, if it looked anything like Bigfoot. This literally looked like a gorilla with a really long tail. And another thing I noticed, it almost looked like it had something of a muzzle on its head. So you notice how my face is somewhat flat, minus the beard. You know how a dog kind of has the muzzle that comes out? Well, this had a slight muzzle, not a lot, but a slight muzzle. It almost looked like its face came out slightly. I was pretty damn close. But again, it was getting dark. I couldn't see everything. I really wish I had a cell phone or some kind of a camera. Because man, oh man, if I took a photo and you guys saw that, could you imagine? That would be so wild. But I guess you guys and gals are gonna have to deal with a story. Another story, right? Just another story, no proof. I know it sucks. But that was my weird experience. And then I got so nervous because I had to walk that way to actually get home that I said, no way, I am not walking that way. I will sit here next to my 4-wheeler all night before I walk in that direction. I started messing around with my 4-wheeler a bit again. I got the tools out of the trunk and I found out that there was a plug that was loose, tightened the plug, managed to get it started. I went around that spot that I saw the creature, and then I made my way home. I never told anyone until just now. This is the first time. Well, I actually did tell Danielle. I told Danielle. She was the only person I have ever told this to because I tell her everything. But you guys and gals just got a sneak peek at what I experienced that day as a young man. And it was truly one of the scariest situations in my life. I'll never forget it. In fact, I never took my 4-wheeler in that direction ever again. So if anybody knows what I saw that day, let me know in the comments, please. Is there some kind of a creature that could potentially look like this and I'm misconstruing it? But thereafter, I did ask around the neighborhood, has anyone seen something weird in the woods? Like maybe some kind of a weird creature or something in my local community? Apparently, a guy named Ira has an obsession with exotic creatures about 8 miles down the road. And he buys exotic creatures and he owns a gorilla. I'm not kidding. And his chimpanzee, monkey, and gorilla escape all the time. Frequently. And this guy doesn't get arrested for this, which blows my mind. And this was a long time ago when I was a kid. And I specifically remember because a monkey actually got loose and made its way to our property, and my mom was out barbecuing one time on the back porch, and this monkey popped up on the porch and it was threatening. It looked like it was going to attack her, to the extent of my mom not being able to move for like 2 hours until Ira actually came over and took the monkey away. So this guy had a bunch of exotic creatures. Well, the only thing I could possibly think is maybe his gorilla or his chimpanzee got loose, because he literally owned a gorilla. I don't know how this guy managed to do this, but he was some rich guy that loved exotic creatures. He had like a zoo on his property, and his animals would get loose all the time. I can't tell you how many weird creatures I've seen in New York. I saw an ostrich one time in my backyard because of this guy Ira. I'm not even kidding. But I'm thinking maybe I saw a gorilla I'm just so thankful that that gorilla didn't maul me in the middle of the woods. Maybe I saw some weird mystical creature. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm really excited to get your opinions. There's a lot of people out there that love this kind of stuff. Well, hopefully somebody can help me out. Let me know what I saw that day so I can have peace of mind. Because to this day, I'm always wondering, what the hell was that? It's crazy. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. God bless. Look forward to talking to you guys again soon.